culture, and we utilize that in an effort to transform our behavior, to become better men and women, to become upright men and women, and not these males and females masquerading as men and women. So as a result of that work, is what brought me to the presentation that I want to do tonight. And that presentation is African-centered parenting in the 21st century. Because in that area we have problems. We have severe problems. And we need to talk about what is parenting and what specifically is African-centered parenting. And there's a reason why I say African-centered, which I'll explain further into the presentation. So the question becomes, what is parenting? A parent is a nurturer who provides for the social, emotional, psycho-spiritual, cultural, and material well-being of and is an ongoing support system for her or his child or children. And think about that. Some words in here: social, emotional, psycho-spiritual, cultural well-being of the child, and an ongoing support system. In the African context, because that's the context that I speak from, we are who we are in this land. Define yourself as you choose to define yourself. If you say you black tonight. If you African American tonight. If you African tonight. But know that I'm speaking to all of that tonight. So if you hear me use the term African, I'm talking about the person who say that they are black. I'm referring to the one who say he or she is African American. And I'm also referring to the one who say I'm African. Or the one who say I'm none of that, I'm Moorish American, I'm Moorish this, so on and so forth. I am referring to the dark, melanated people who descend from that landmass that we choose to call many different things, who reside in the United States of America. That's what I'm referring to tonight. We have to be able to understand that as parents, our duty is development. It's development. But in that area, most of us fail because we don't know that it's development. Because most of us didn't even plan to have the child or children we bring to the world. Most of our children or child is the result of us, male and female, engaging in sexual intercourse for pleasure. We was trying to have some pleasure and brought a child here. And then we wing it. We wing raising and rearing our child. We wing it the entire way. And then we penalize and punish the child because we didn't know how to raise the child right. So when the child show us in his or her behavior that he or she is mal-behaved because of our failures, we punish the child. That has to stop. That is the beginning stages of the destruction of the minds of our children. Because every time you beat that child, however you choose to beat that child, it's traumatizing to that child. And we can argue, well, I was beaten, I'm okay, we think we are okay. You know, nothing wrong with a little beating. There is something wrong with that leather belt going across your back and across your buttocks. And when it leaves bruises on you, when you're wet in that bathtub trying to take a bath, and mommy or daddy coming there with that belt, there is something wrong with that. There is something wrong with that tree branch going up beside your head and that extension cord. There is something wrong with that. Even though you may still be here today physically, there is some damage that has been done as a result of that. Because no human being should have to endure that type of treatment. But we do it because we do not understand what we should be doing as parents. That's why that is done. So I say social, emotional. If you watch our children well, and if you pay attention, you will see our children socialize after they leave the ages of 5. Some of them now at 5, because like I said, I work in a elementary school, so I see these pre-K and these kindergartners that fight daily, that hit each other daily. And when you sit down and talk to the kindergarten, why you hit him or her? Because my mommy said, if someone do this to me, this is what I'm supposed to do to them. My daddy said, and I get it, I understand what we are attempting to tell the child, I understand that. But what we fail to realize is that children at 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 have not developed the cognitive skills that would allow them to differentiate. So they're not going to differentiate what they're doing, so they're just going to take that behavior with anyone. So even when an adult steps in to correct and rectify that situation, the child becomes defiant and aggressive to the adult. Because in that moment, what the child is processing is that the adult is moving against the child. And the child is only following the directions of his or her parent. And this begins the beginning stages of a disrespectful child. And this is why we have the problems that we have in our communities. We have to understand what our responsibilities are as parents. What are we supposed to be doing to ensure that our children evolve along the lines of human beings? That's a sacred duty that we are not to neglect. We must understand how to fulfill and execute that duty. So what is African-centered parenting? You speak about the parent, but what does it mean to be African-centered in your efforts of parenting? African-centered parenting is a style of parenting that places a special emphasis on tapping into and cultivating the inherent Africanity of African children. This involves acquainting them with their authentic African self by rooting them within their authentic African culture and orientating them with an African perspective of reality. That's what it means. We have to take our children when they come to us and teach and show them what it means to be African. That's the duty. They have to have a proper perspective of reality because we live in a reality that works against their well-being. See, we live in a reality is anti-us across the board on every level. Educationally, it's anti-African, it's anti-black, it's anti-African American. Economically, it's anti-you. Politically, it's anti-you. Socially, it is anti-you. You name it, a discipline. Medically, it is anti-you. You bring a baby into the world, you take your child back, after you take the child home, you come back for your weekly visits, they start measuring your child's head. They start weighing your child, they say your child is in this percentile. They're measuring your child against measurements that they retrieved from white children. So your child come here already being what? Judged wrong. They tell your child way too much because they're using standards of white children to tell you that your child should be as they are. And they use their medical degrees to convince you that what they're saying is correct. And we don't have proper knowledge, we begin to look and think that we have abnormal children because of what they're saying. It's anti-you, anti-us. So our children need to know that when they walk out the front door every single day, they're walking into a world that's anti-them on every level. And when you don't tell your child that, you are failing your child. And that's the reason why most of our children, most of our boys do not know how to interact with the police. And as a result of that, they are being what? Slaughtered. Because us as parents are not telling them that a war is being waged against them. So they walk out here with their hands down, defenseless, getting murdered. And then we congregate together and we cry and we beg and plead and ask people that's anti-us, why are you killing us? Because they are supposed to kill us. That's what it means to be against you. To wipe you out, to get rid of you. As a parent, it is your duty, as George Jackson teaches us. As a parent, it is your duty to provide your child or children with a proper interpretation of reality. Whatever that reality is, wherever you find yourself at, you must make your child understand it correctly. Don't send your child outside not knowing that it's a war being waged against him or her. You're failing that child. Don't keep telling your child, go to school, get a good education, and get a good job. That's a lie. And that's the reason why our children are so disillusioned, because it don't work. The logic doesn't work when they try to apply that. They become disillusioned and you want to come down on them thinking you're lazy, you don't want to do nothing. They do want to do something. You ill-prepared them. No one just want to lay around and don't want to do anything, but people become discouraged when the plan you put in their head fails because your plan does not align itself with reality. Your plan was what? Unrealistic, based in a fantasy world. We can't do that to our children. So we have to make sure they're rooted and grounded in their culture. They need to know what their culture is. They need to know where they come from. They need to know what they descend from. They need to understand their greatness. You have to be able to give them that. And if you can't give them that, you have to be able to put them in a place where they can receive it at. That's your duty as a parent. Once you bring a child here, your primary focus and duty is that child. If you bring a child here at 15, you stop living at 15. Live for the child. That's what it's about. You have to ensure, with all of your essence, you have to ensure that that child fully develops. That's your sacred duty. And when you're not doing everything in your power to fulfill that, you are, I am, we are failing our children. And black people need to talk about it that way and stop trying to sweep that under the rug. Because I'm one of them children. So that's why I talk about it so passionately. I'm one of them children that was dragged into the juvenile justice systems in 1983 and let a white judge tell me something was wrong with my brain. You need to go to Johns Hopkins Hospital and have it checked out. I'm one of those children who was told you got a learning disability. War was being waged, and where was my defenders? Ignorance causes us to fail in our duties. I'll say it again. Ignorance causes us to fail in our duties to our children. We don't have time to just watch Atlanta Housewives and all this other foolishness and this dumb stuff that you watch that you think is entertainment. It's a distraction. You should be developing yourself so you can develop your child. Our children can't read. Our children can't write. Our children can't spell. And how are they going to succeed out here? They don't have the skills because we're not ensuring that they get the skills because our interest is somewhere else. But yet we tell them every day, get an education and get a job. How are they going to get a job? How? You just talking to be talking. They don't have the skill sets to get a job if they wanted to get a job. Because as a parent, you're not ensuring that they develop. You're not taking time out for that child. You're not making that black child, that African child, or that African American child know who he or she is. We have to get better. You got to tap into your child. Because unlike all other creatures in existence that come to this world and innately know how to be what they was designed to be, the human being has to be taught to be a human being. The human being has to be taught. That's why in the African context, our African ancestors, they created those systems that was designed to move us through life to ensure that we develop fully so we can what? Maximize human potentials. By maximizing human potentials, we can add on to the progression of our community. our people. We can push them forward. That's why we develop the sciences, the mathematics, and the things that we develop, because each generation was evolving. So we was birthing giants in the minds. Now what's happening? With each passing year, where there should be progression with us, there's retrogression. With each passing year. So 2015, we're going to see retrogression where it should be progression. So as we go forward, we go backwards. We have to focus on developing our children. And your culture is key, is critical in this process. When you do not have your culture, you have someone else's culture. And culture is that what sculptures you. Culture is that system that protects, shapes, and allows you to maneuver in your environment. The culture tells you who you are, where you are at, where you have come from, where you must go, what your duties and responsibilities are. It is your culture. And when you are removed from yours, another culture will do that for you. That's why we work so well for the system. That's why we are efficient inside a system that we know is destroying us. But we are efficient inside of it because we don't have what we need to be broke away from that system to maximize our own human development, which is our culture. We have theirs. When we look into the world, when we look at each other, we assess us how they assess us. That's what we do. Our aspirations are their aspirations. Our ideals are their ideals, not ours. And that's the reason why we're failing with our children. Because now we deal with our children how they deal with their children. Our children just have become a mistake that we deal with and tolerate. And then we fuss with each other and cry about. She cried too much. You come and get her. I don't want her. Come and get him. He's getting on my nerves. He's doing this. He's doing that. You better come over, your no good self. You ain't nothing. Your father ain't nothing. Your mother ain't nothing. That's all we do is try to destroy our children because we don't know how to be adults. That's it. And it's pathetic. And I know you know what I'm saying is the truth. You've heard it. Some of you probably have experienced it. Some of you probably have been perpetrators of it. But it's the truth. I'm not grabbing this out the air. This is us. This is our mess that we have to correct and fix. Ashe? Let's rock and roll. What is the primary responsibility of an African parent? The primary responsibility of an African parent is to protect and productively develop African children to ensure their survival and maximize their potential as a human being, to prepare them to assume power, to secure, protect, and perpetuate the productive existence of African people. That's it. And if you ain't doing that, you're failing an African child. And it's okay. It's okay to be failing up to this point because we didn't know. But after tonight, it's not okay if you up in here. Now you know. Our children have to be prepared to assume power. African people have to come out these conditions that we are in. There's no question about that. There's no negotiation. This is the mission and this is the task. And every child that we bring here, they have to be brought to us for this reason and this reason alone. Until we can say that Africa as a continent has been reconsolidated and we are living African socio-political and economic empowerment with the ability to secure that and protect that for the future. Until such time, all of our children that come to us must be prepared for this battle. Everyone. We don't lay down and bring children here to teach them to go shoot a basketball. That does not win wars. We don't lay down and bring children here so all they can do is play Xbox 3, PlayStation 4. That's it. And then the moment you leave, the moment you do a survey and you leave our communities and go into these other communities and you encounter these other ethnic groups of people, their children are thinking in terms of power. They're thinking in terms of controlling. They're thinking in terms of ownership. Our children don't have a clue about ownership. Because the households they come out of, the families have failed to prepare them for that. That's why. So it's not their fault. It's the family fault that they come from. Because the family is the first institution. And everything they need to know in life should be given to them by their family. If you send your child to any other school, that's secondary. The family is primary. That's how we should be thinking. The family is primary. The education should be in the family. If it's not given to them there, where are they going to receive it at? Education is the primary means through which people are socialized. Socialization processes teaches and prepares you to fit into a society. Education is where that's done at. If you put your child in a public school in the pre-K and your child remains in school to the 12th grade and go off to college and get a PhD, no offense to anyone who may have any of those degrees. If you have the degree and you've broken free, kudos to you. But for the most part, if you go from pre-K to the PhD level, the only thing you're going to do is perpetuate this system. The only thing, because that's all you have been prepared and trained to do. That's it. You cannot travel, navigate through the enemy institution from the beginning to the end without being indoctrinated in the ways of the enemy. It's no way. Now, we got some rare individuals who can be the spooks that can slide through, so on and so forth, but they are rare. But the majority, if you send 100 of us through, if 100 of us go from pre-K to the PhD level, 90 of us gonna push their way of life. Probably 95. 99. A good brother says 99. I'm not gonna argue that. I'm saying that to say what? What is the relevancy to parenting? I'm saying that all of that can be given to your child in the house. That's what I'm saying. Prenatal and postnatal education. That's the African way. Once you know you are with child, with life, education begins. Once child comes, education continues. You must be responsible for that. You must be teaching that child. You must have the systems in place, the structures in place to ensure that your child is receiving the proper education that's going to allow him or her to be socialized in an African sense. What I mean by that is this. You live in this land, you're educated in this land inside your home or whatever external institutions that you may use, whether it's private or charter that's up to par for the most part. You know, you're giving them that, but they know that they still live inside a land that's against them. So part of their education has to be survival. See, education is not universal as they would have you to believe. Education is specific to environments because education prepares you for survival. And wherever you find yourself at, you need to know how to survive. So if you're in the Amazon jungle, you can't take what you learned in Harvard there. It ain't gonna work in the Amazon jungle. You gotta learn the ways of the Amazon jungle. Find out what's edible and what's not edible. You have to re-educate yourself to that environment. so you can maximize your survival. If you leave the Amazon and you go to a desert, it changes. It changes. You have to learn some other things that's going to allow you to what? Survive in the desert. If you come from the desert back to these quote-unquote urban settings or this concrete jungle, you got to learn some other things that works for us, that allows us to push ourselves forward. You have to learn. One of those things is cooperative economics. The next thing is that every black child that's born should be power-oriented. It should not be a child that comes into the world that's not thinking about power at the earliest of ages. Not one. At the earliest of ages, our children should be thinking about power. They should be taught how to work together. All of these things should take place early on. We need to stop this crap. You got 3 children in the house, and we got to stop this right here. This destroys our children. 3 children, 3 different ages. Here you go, John. It's your birthday today. This is yours. This is for you. That crap, I know we do it. I understand why we do it, but it breeds a mindset of separateness, right? And we got to watch how subtle this stuff is and where we got it from. Because keep in mind, I'm telling you that everything here is anti-us. So we got to be careful of the ideas that we perpetuate. Because they're anti-us, they have been given to us for a reason. They have been given to us to ensure the survival and the perpetuation of this system, not our survival. So everything we do, if we're not careful, we're securing and solidifying this system and not us. Our children were educated and developed in an age grade system. So we didn't break it down like 6, 7, and 8, y'all were separate. So 6, 7, 8 probably was educated together. They got everything together. They done everything together. And we didn't focus on those individual days like that. We just knew y'all was in the age grade. So y'all gonna move through this age grade together. That's it. Look at the Zulus in Shaka Zulu. Those little boys who grew up together in the Zulu nation, they grew up together in all their forms of play orientated them to warfare. So Shaka, they moved them from like this right here. They started out on the ground together and ended up on the battlefield together. And if they didn't die on the battlefield at a certain time, they were able to retire off the battlefield and go back to their families and wives together. See, all this dichotomies is European. See, African people don't have all these dichotomies, all this splitting, breaking everything up, pulling everything apart. That's straight Europeans, and that's the stuff that's killing us. Because that's what we start perpetuating. We pull everything apart, break everything up, and it does not work for us as a people. It does not work for us as a people. We just not wired that way as a people. We are wired in a way that brings things together. It's about synthesizing things with us. It's about collectivism. It's about being in a group as opposed to being individualized. We got to be careful. So African-centered parenting is a collective initiative, and this is key and critical. So pay attention to this piece. African children are children of the African community. They come to a community. The entire community is responsible for their nurturing. What I mean is this. In the African context, man, woman, they have been raised, reared, prepared for a family, come together, conceive, child come. Child came by way of them, child comes to us. Child came by way of them, child came to us. Because child is coming to us with purpose. You're coming together with purpose. We need to grow the community. We need to solidify the community. We need to advance the community. We need to protect the community. We need additional bodies to do so. We bring children. Child come by way of them to us. Now, in the African context, African-centered parenting is communal parenting, which is multi-parenting. African children have many mamas and many babas. See, in the West, we got all these adults, adult women. I'm going to start there. Then I'm going to come to the men. Just running around talking about how they was emotionally neglected. My father wasn't there. I didn't get this, that, and that, so on and so forth, boom, 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 all this neglect. So a lot of times we carry all these different forms of insecurities, all this, we want all this extra stuff that sometimes, the guy can't give. We beef about that, so on and so forth. So then you got the guy. On the other hand, same way. I ain't had no father. No man wasn't there. Didn't show me how to do this, that, and the other. So because the man wasn't there, he lacking in some areas, so therefore he's unable to fulfill all his man responsibilities in his relationship. So in turn, we fight in the homes. We bickering back. She needs something he can't give. He needs something from her she can't give. Why? Because we saying that we each were neglected somehow. In the African context, the neglect does not exist because you got many mothers. And the focus is not biology in the African context. So we can give a damn that it came through you. We're going to raise this child and make sure this child is evolved properly. That's what's going to happen. Because you can bring a child here and be 100% ill-prepared for the child. And you think your biology is going to outweigh what we can do for the child? No, it's not. Because you don't have a clue, and all you're going to do is destroy the child. And by destroying the child, you're going to give us another damn problem to deal with. So we're going to cut that off. We're going to step in and do this thing the right way. That's what African people do. That's why they didn't have all those problems. A bunch of people running around talking about they didn't get this, that, and the other. Because there was always some mother ready to nurture a child. There was always some father ready to rear a boy. Not this broken junk we got here that we think is real and right. This is wrong and abnormal for African people. And we have to come to the realization that it is, and we have to start immediately to do things differently. If we don't, we're going to self-destruct in this land. We already hitting that way now. Don't take a rocket science to see it. We see it, be honest. Go inside any one of these schools we send our children into, you see it. Park your car one day and get on the bus or the subway. You see it. Just park that car one day and say, I'm going to do a survey. Ride the bus. You'll see it where we at as a people. Watch our children. That's where we at. And they didn't come to the world this way. They was made that way. Because we gave birth to them inside this mess and didn't know how to prepare them to, guard themselves against this mess. Now they're products of this mess. And we want to condemn them because we failed them. We used to be smacked upside our heads. That is the truth. Sometimes the truth is uncomfortable, sometimes it's harsh, sometimes it feels like a blow in your mouth. But that's what you need when you're trying to wake up. Sometimes you can oversleep, right? We know that. Sometimes you sleep a person shaking, you still don't want to get up. Sometimes you need a blow. That's where we at. We just need a blow so we can get this thing right. Because our babies need us, and we got to give it to our babies. So what does African parenting entail? Ongoing learning, self-development. You have a child at 20. You are a child. Regardless of what these white folks have told you and what you think. I don't care about you being out there and you lost your virginity at 10 years old. I don't care nothing about that junk. I don't care about the fact you've been smoking marijuana since you was 12 and partying and clubbing since you was 13 with fake IDs. It does not make a difference. At 20, at 21, you are a child with a child. You need development. You need it at 25. You need it at 30 and 35 and 40 and 45 and 50. You need it as long as you are here in this physical world dealing with African people and African children. Your learning has to be ongoing. So an African-centered parent is a parent that prepares him or herself for the process of shaping and molding future leaders. Providing them with the tools and the skill sets to defend their nation. To push their nation forward. That's what it's about. Parental self-empowerment. You have to be ensuring the health and wellness of African children, developing the minds of African children, teaching, Education must be at the forefront of developing African children. You have to be about loving your children, modeling productive and appropriate behavior for your children, and disciplining African children. Disciplining. But I'm going to talk about discipline a little later because a lot of us think discipline and punishment is the same thing. We got to confuse. We've been listening to white people too much. So right now we have like a white man in our mind. So telling us everything, and we just regurgitate it. You know, we got to dethrone this guy. We got to get him out of us some kind of way. We got to take some type of detox or some type of enema, but he has to go. You know, something, yeah, because he's messing us up real bad. So what does it mean to love? Because I work with children, so that's why I'm talking about children. And one of the things I've been seeing is this. I've been seeing some of our black women who didn't have a father, who have male children, trying to get a father out of their child. Let me try to clarify that. The attention and the pacification that some black women are giving to black boys is excessive. But it's done in an attempt to fill a void that's there. So it's like I'm over hugging you and holding you. I'm not allowing you to go through your process. I do everything for you because I'm trying to use you as you my friend. You're the person that make me feel whole. You know, you have come here and now everything is going to be right. That is the destruction of these boys. See, male children are what they are. DNA-wise, they are the warriors. It's in them. The energy is there. The energy is the testosterone. They are wired that way. So you can't over-smother them. That's why it has to be a man there to create the balance and show the boy how to work with the testosterone to put it in perspective so the boy can develop the correct way. That's what has to take place. You can't overgrab. You can't always be out there for the boy. The boy has to run his course. It's in his DNA. You just have to do some self-development work and heal yourself. Find a sisterhood and begin your own healing process. But you gotta let the boy be a boy. You gotta let the boy go. I see it every day. I'm in them schools. I see these little boys zap out 7 years old. Zaps out, slam the doors in the school. Tell the teacher, what? And as soon the mother come down there, as soon as she come to the school, she's not coming down there to deal with him in any type of corrective fashion. Off the break, it's this smothering stuff. Like it's like she came into school, she was mad and hurt, and she saw her savior and her son, who have just ruined the school. And I see it. She comes in, that's her savior. She go over, baby. And then I'm like, look at this, like, this dynamic is all wrong. It's hurting us. It's hurting us. So now you got boys that you can't tell no to. They flip out. You can't even say, listen, hold on, I'll give it to you in 15 minutes. They flips out. I tell the little boy he did well. Did an excellent job. So I wanted to give him $1. But you can't give the children dollars in school. So I tell a little joke. I said, I whisper, I'm gonna give you $1. Can't tell nobody. Couple hours. He flipped out. He wanted it now. He was demanding it. Look at this guy, man. I said, come here, man. I had to grab my arm and walk with him. Oh, man, you got it all wrong. Pick him up and hold him. Calm down. What are you doing? Get it together, man. You know, that's how I deal with them. But I let the mothers know. So I got their phone numbers. I call them. You know, I let them know, look, this is how I'm dealing with your boy. So we need to know, let me know how you going to do this thing. You know, because he need this. Because he's flipping out down here. But he don't get his way. It can't be his way. So that's what this is about. You know, we can't overdo that with our boys. We got to be direct with our boys. We got to be head on with them, but we got to love them. The love is It's that ongoing support. But it's the ability and the willingness to correct them when they are wrong and you know they are wrong. It's being able to tell your son, baby, you are wrong, we don't do that. You cannot do that. That is inappropriate. It's that. It's being able to stand firm on something and not give in to the crowd or him batting his eyes at you. Because standing strong is what teaches and show him what you're going to tolerate and what you're not going to tolerate. Because what happens dealing with human behavior, all behavior is learned behavior. So they're going to learn what you want them to learn if you're strong enough in your own positions. They will eventually conform to what you stay strong on. But they will test you and they will try you. You can't give in. And on the flip side, I see my men. They crazy over their daughters. I see them in the school, they crazy over their daughters. And on top of that, some of the men is soft when it comes to the boys. We got one little boy, he's 7 years old. And he flips out at random. At random, he flips out. And he tell you, quick, get off me, don't touch me, I ain't touching you. Don't touch me. Don't touch me, I ain't touching you. I ain't touching you, don't touch me. And he'll swell up on you like he want to try you. He this big. He weighing like 35 pounds. But that's what he do. So you call his father. His father come over. His father want to plead with him. But here this is a 7-year-old threatening adults. And you come and you plead with him. And you wonder why he the way that he is. So it goes back to my point. We don't understand what parenting is all about. We got to get clear on that. We got to figure out how we're going to develop our children so our children can be healthy and whole. Because if they're not healthy and whole, they're going to fail in that society. And the more children we send into that society, unhealthy and broken, two things. Death, prison. Death, prison. Death, prison. If we keep sending them out there like that, that's what's happening. So we got to figure out how we can stop that. How can we stop all our children, boys and girls, ending up in these juvenile homes that elevates to prisons or going into the ground? We got to develop their minds. We have to develop their minds, black people. We got to focus on the development of our children's minds. Teach them, educate them. So the parental self-empowerment piece I just spoke about, it is the act of deepening parental knowledge, increasing understanding, and improving upon parenting skills to make parents better. A process wherein parents are enhanced and refined psychosocially and emotionally, spiritually to optimize parenting. So to be good at your task as a parent, you have to get good as a person. You understand what I'm saying? So if you want to be good at parenting, you have to become good as a person. You have to get that together. You got to enhance who you are so you can maximize your children. In order for parental self-empowerment to come about, a parent must be able to and willing to carry out 3 basic functions. These 3 things right here are essential for your development. Self-reflection. You have to be honest about who you are. If you're full of junk, you got to be able to tell yourself you're full of junk. Stop lying to yourself. Just be honest with yourself. Look at yourself and really look at that junk that you got inside you. Your deception, your manipulations that you run around with, all this junk. Your hypersensitivity, your possessiveness, whatever it is that you have, your ego, your insecurities, whatever that crap that you have as a man or as a male or a female that's hindering your growth and development, you have to look at it and accept it, own it. Self-honesty, self-humility. If you can't do those things, you won't grow. That's the truth. If you can't do these things, you will not grow. You will age. You will age, but you will not grow. And I'm going to tell you something that's really, really, really damaging. To be an aged individual who haven't grown. 2 facts about parenting. Parenting can be understood in one sense as an acquired ability, as a learned function that involves constant learning, developing, and evolving. So just because you're female or male, you don't necessarily know how to parent. That's the reason why in the African context we had the rites of passages, because it kind of prepared us. It gave us an idea what our responsibilities and obligations were, because we had developed elders, females and males, who would work with us to ensure that we was kind of ready, at least on some levels, for the task at hand. Parenting is a continuous process. It's not an end. Excellent parenting requires and demands ongoing self-development work. If you want to be excellent, you have to be about developing yourself. One of the things I suggest is this. For all of us who are parents, aren't a parent, thinking about becoming a parent, know a parent, or no parents. Focus on increasing your knowledge of the African person. The best way to do that is to understand African culture. Dr. Amos Wilson, one of the greatest psychologists of all time, in my opinion, teaches us that the best way to understand the psyche of anyone, of a people, is through their history. Because within the history, all that you need to know about the individual is there. So if we want to understand what it means to be African, how to develop African people, we must look at African history and African culture. All that we need to know is there. We have to take the time out to look at it, examine it, and utilize the best of that for us today. So that's what I would suggest. So I would suggest that we begin to read books, study, join study groups. If anyone here from Baltimore City, we have a study group that we meet every Sunday from 6 to 9, and we study the history and the culture. But in addition to reading the books and purchasing the books, don't read aimlessly. Don't read without purpose. Don't just pick up books and just jump around and reading, because the only thing you're doing is giving yourself bits and pieces of information. You want to study to build foundation. You study to build foundation. Because think of it like this right here. Before you can erect any type of edifice, you have to create a foundation, or at least build a foundation. Correct? Because the edifice is going to fall if it don't have a foundation. So the foundation that we want to build is the new African man and woman. Want to build that. So you want to build that by studying the history and the culture. So I would suggest that we start read. If you haven't read John Henry Clark, read John Henry Clark. Read everything John Henry Clark put out. Just read it. Whatever it is, just read it. John Henry Clark. It might be 10 books. You just want to read it. Because you want to build foundation. You want to build foundation. Then John G. Jackson, Foundation. You know, The Destruction of Black Civilization, it's a good book to read, but it's also a challenging book. So if you haven't read any of this stuff yet, I wouldn't suggest that you start with The Destruction of Black Civilization. I would suggest that you start with John Henry Clark, because his books are put together very, very easy. African People in World History, a little teeny blue book. But it's a beginning place, it's a starting place. And you build that foundation. And as you begin to peruse, to read through the history and the culture, you can begin to understand and see how African people thought and behaved. And that's what you want to extract. How we thought and behaved, because we laid the foundation to everything. And we actually created a way that was less chaotic than anything else in the world. See, the chaos that exists in the world from the last 2,000 years, you didn't find that in Africa if you go back in ancient Africa, predating any invasions in Africa. If you can go and look at Africa beyond any of those invasions, you don't find the chaos that's in the world in Africa. So that tells us something about Africa and how they was thinking and how they was behaving. They was harmonious. And that's what we want to bring with us today into this world. That type of mindset, that type of thinking, with the understanding of where we are at. We don't never want to neglect where we are at. We want to know that we are in a land that's anti-us, so we can forever be on our guards. Never become lax in that area. African parenting in practice. So, says this, always communicate a clear message to African children. We got to stop speaking in half talks. Speak directly to your child. Give African children instructions. Yes?
What you mean by half talk?
Half talk, we say, we talk in riddles a lot. If you do this right here, I don't know, I might do this, I might. They don't deal with mites and all of that. They don't deal with that. They only going to process it as it is. So you got to say what it is. Say exactly what you can do and what you want. That's it. Don't put it in between. Because what happens is when you can't come through, even though you said might, they have forgot the might. You didn't forget you said might. But they processed the fact that you didn't come through. So you let them down. So that begins to build up in their head. They begin to start seeing the hypocrisy. And they come from one adult to another adult to another adult. And this is the communication. And that's the reason why they see us the way they see us. As liars and things of that nature. All you gotta do is sit and talk to most African children. They'll tell you, my mama lied to me. They'll tell you these things. And it may not necessarily be the truth. It's how they are processing how you have interacted with them. So therefore, take the middle piece out. Be direct. If you want them in at 8 o'clock, say come in the house at 8 o'clock. Don't say, I might let you start after 8 o'clock if you do this, that, and the other. And then when you tell him come in at 8 o'clock, keep fussing and cussing. He forgot the mic. Mom, you said I can stay out past 8 o'clock. No, I didn't, boy. I said if you do. He done forgot that already. So now you got to go back and forth with your son, who you shouldn't be going back and forth with because he's only been in the world for, 120 months. What you going back and forth with him for? He don't know. So cut the half talk out. Speak, be clear. Give instructions, give commands, set standards for your children. You be the standard, set a standard. Establish realistic expectations for your children. You want your children. Every African child should know his name, her name, should be able to count to 10, should know his or her colors, should know shapes by the age of 2. You disagree?
Yeah, I agree.
You agree?
My daughter do math.
See? There we go. By the age of 2. If you can push it before 2, then do it before 2. But they should know that by 2. That's realistic and it can be achieved. But you got to work with your child. You got to work with your child. And the reason I say it is this, because this is another misconception that parents have. Parents believe that it is the Baltimore public school system's primary responsibility to educate their child. It's not. It's your primary responsibility to educate your child. If that means through you doing it directly or you ensuring that they get in an environment that can do it. But it's not that public school's primary responsibility. The school is secondary. The teacher of your child should be your aide, not the teacher. She or he is your aide. They reinforce what you teach. That's what it should be if you use the school.
What if they don't reinforce what you teach?
If they don't, they don't. That's the age. You the one that got them in that school. That's your fault for putting them in there if they're not teaching it. The point I'm trying to get us to see is that it's not their responsibility, so whether they did it or not doesn't really matter. It's your responsibility. But we think it's theirs, so we'll come to the school and we'll argue, we'll fuss and cuss at the school. It's not their primary responsibility to educate a child that you brought here. That's just something they decided to create to ensure that we get socialized the way we need to be socialized. That's a socialization tool. Education has to come from you. Create clearly defined boundaries for African children. Stop communicating specific things in front of your children. Stop talking about the father in front of the child. Stop talking about the mother in front of the child. Stop having derogatory conversations about other adults in front of the children. Stop telling the children, Miss So-and-so had an abortion. Stop telling the child or talking in front of the child about what somebody else is doing in another house. They do not have the psychological makeup to shoulder all this adult stuff that you're putting on them. Create boundaries. Keep them where they're supposed to be at in their childlike lane. Don't plead with African children. Stop that. If you do this, I'll do this, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, boo-boo. Come on, boo-boo. Stop that foolishness. Stop pleading. Don't make excuses for African children. Stop excusing their behavior. Call it what it is and deal with it. Don't keep on making an excuse. Don't keep on saying, well, he's like this because his father not here. Granted, Pops may not be there. But you chose to know good after when you laid down with him. Granted, the mother might not be here. She probably ran off. You chose her. You know what I'm saying? You was chasing behind that stuff behind her. You running behind her, ow! Brought the baby here and she rolled out. Deal with it. Don't make no excuses for any shortcomings for the child you brought here. Not unless there's a clearly established medical condition. Then that's understandable. Outside of that, deal with that stuff. When your child show you foolishness and nonsense and disrespect, don't try to excuse that. Deal with it and correct it. Hold African children accountable. If they too, hold them accountable for what they do. Because you know why? For 24 months, you have told him or her what they should not be doing. They understand at that age. Hold them accountable. Don't be how he's just a baby, she's just a baby. Bump that. He knew he was a baby when he rose up and sprung at you. Ha! Oh, that's just a baby, that's cute. No, hold that butt accountable. Deal with that. If you don't, when he turns 5, he's gonna ball it up. And if you don't get him then, when he's 13, he's a little bit bigger, he's gonna land him on you. Bip, bip. Cut that stuff off, ASAP. Don't play with African children. Demand the best from them. Another thing we got to stop doing, don't yell and scream at our children. Now, this is a tough one because a lot of times we confuse sternness. You can be stern, right? You can be stern. But the yelling and that screaming, it affects them. I understand that some of us have the context, that we got that. So I don't want to give anyone the impression that I'm talking about something that's idealistic. See, I'm talking about if we done it correct from the beginning, it wouldn't be a need for that. So this is the context that I'm putting it in. So if we don't have children or know someone that's about to have children, we can take this information here and help them to avoid getting to that place right there. Because you don't have to yell at these children. If we engage them the correct way from the time they come here and ensure that they move along the proper lines, we wouldn't have to do all of that yelling. Don't reinforce foolishness. Don't laugh at none of their antics. None of them. When they do it in your presence, give them a stern look of disagreement. And every time they do it, that's what you give them. Never laugh at it. They'll stop doing it. Even if you want to laugh, it probably was something that truly tickled you. But you better have some discipline. Don't let them or him or her see that you was amused by it, because they will do it again. And that's what we're doing. We out here making white folks laugh. We in classrooms making white folks laugh. We're in the office building making white folks laugh. We're in the waiting areas making white folks laugh. That's what we want to do now. We want to entertain. Everything got to be entertainment. Bump back. Show them that we ain't with a bunch of unnecessary entertainment. It's about business, and you're going to be about business. If you're in my house, you're going to be about business, boy. Cut it out. It's not funny. I don't like it. Don't do that no more. That's not killing his creativity as they think. Oh, that's killing his creativity. He's just trying to explore this. No, that's foolishness. That's foolishness, and you need to know the difference. When he's being creative or she's being creative, intellectually in a sense or capacity that's nation building oriented, then you encourage it. You support it. But not, you don't laugh because a 3-year-old cussed somebody out. Wait, man, she cussed like a sailor. No, you better let her know that ain't cool. Because you got some old school people out here that put their hands on children. You got some people out here that live by some principles that's not going to allow your 13-year-old to say F you. You B-I-T-C-H. They're going to call him or her on that. That's the part of understanding the environment you in. So don't be trying to reinforce that dumbness that's going to get that child touched at some point in his or her life. Be realistic and be real and be genuine and be true. That's all our children need from us. Demand of African children to think. Stop doing everything for them. Teach them, show them, understand where they are at, know what they can and can't do. But the things you know they can do, demand that they do it. Use that brain. The brain, the human brain, is a problem-solving organ. That's what it is. It solves problems. But you have to work that muscle. Like any other muscles, it has to be developed. Work with your children. Don't let them out. Don't let them get off so easy. Punishment versus discipline. Let's talk about this real fast. So punishment, an imposed penalty as a consequence of a violation. The concept of punishment is premised on fear. So, a child used profanity, she's 9 years old, or he's 9 years old, you take the belt, you beat him. It's punishment, right? Hoping that that belt to the behind will prevent the behavior from reoccurring. Most of us have been beat before, probably all of us. I know I was beat several times. Beat tremendously. I was beat wet. I had a sneaky mother. Boy, I go in there, I got caught stealing one time. Stealing some baseballs. Yeah, out of Kmart. We used to play baseball. So we want some baseball. We ain't had no money. We gonna get some baseball. We want to play baseball. We go to Kmart, go in there, steal some baseballs. Everybody, it's like a little pack, right? Everybody get out the store with their baseballs. I get caught. Oh, man. So they call moms. Moms come and get me. She talking to me nice and cool, take me home. You know, it's bedtime, this, that, and that. I go in the bathroom, back then in the bathtub, take my little bath, and she jimmy the door. And I see the hanger. She picking the lock, coming in that joint. I'm wet, soaking wet. She gave it to me. Make a long story short, probably about 7 years later, I still ended up in prison. Been in prison twice. The last time in prison, I was in prison 13 years and 9 months. So none of the beatings, it didn't work. And most of the people I ran into in prison, I did a survey. You ever been beat before? Yeah, you. You know, most of us that was in the joint been beat before. It didn't stop us from doing the things we was doing. Now, I'm not saying that you stop beating your child. I know if you beating your child right now, cool, that's what you do. Like I say, no, because I want to be as open and realistic as possible. Some of us beat our children, and I want to give anyone the impression of telling you that what I'm saying is absolute. What I'm saying is unnecessary if we do it correct from the beginning. There's no need for it, right? Because if the discipline is put in place, right, it's going to naturally prevent all these other things that cause you to beat the child. Yes, ma'am. That's the point I'm trying to get you, right? Now, I'm glad that you was open and honest to put it to the floor, because you are charged with the task of reorientating her thinking along the lines. So at this stage, this becomes necessary. It's okay because that is your daughter, right? And you're most definitely trying to give her those boundaries. But so the discipline piece becomes the self-control, the orderliness, the structured and respectful behavior. That has to be established early on. When our children get here, they come, think about this right here. For 9 months, they live in a watery world. For 9 months, it's a watery world they live in. And then they come into a world, air hit them, right? That's a shock. That's the initial shock there. That's trauma in a sense. So, but then another world that's different from the watery world, which was peaceful and calm. They lay and they chill, right? So they get here, they're going through a reacclimation process. That reacclimation process, it needs us to be involved the entire way, because they're going to act out, because they don't know how they should act in this world. They're trying to find their way. They're going to cry, they're going to yell, they're going to do all these different type of things. We as the responsible adults are supposed to have the processes and the systems in place to structure that. To structure that. So by the time they turn 5, they on task. They understand what they're supposed to do, how to do, when to do, and what not to do. Oftentimes, we don't have that in place. We wing the development of our children. We wing it. And in winging it, sometimes we're not always on our game. And we send a mixed signal of you are my friend. And that's what happens. And every now and then we send that mixed signal, not necessarily intentional. It's just because we have not really thought out our approach with our children. We're just moving along and just going at this thing. And because we're moving that way, we don't always hit it the way that it should be hit to ensure that the child become what we desire for the child to become. Any child can be what you want that child to be if you focus on that thing from the entry of that child into this world. That's it. If from the very beginning, if you focus on your child being a doctor, a lawyer, or whatever, if that's the primary focus, you can make that happen. Whatever we want the children to be, they're going to be as a result of what we are and what we do. How we interact with our children, teach our children. So we got to be disciplined. Discipline is about the control. It's about having that order. It's about that respect. It's about that structure. That's what the discipline piece is about. So now you have this other piece, raising versus rearing. So we talk about I raised my child. So we got to understand what this is all about. Raising implies providing for a child's basic physical needs, food, shelter, and clothing. Whereas rearing involves holistic nurturing, fostering a child's social, emotional, and psycho-spiritual development. So inherent in rearing is the raising piece. So you're going to touch on physical, the food, the shelter, and the clothing, but you're going to go beyond that. You're going to understand that the child has to become something. And what it becomes is as a result of what you do. So then you're going to touch those other areas of the child. So you're going to focus on the child's the social, emotional piece, because that's where we off at. So that's the reason why if two young boys, if they bump into each other, if they got guns on them, it's going to be a murder that day. Because they ill-socialized. If they have a gun on them and they walking down the streets and they bump, somebody going to die. Point blank. It's not going to be a discussion. It's not going to be a mediation. It's going to be a death. Because they ill-socialized. Now take it on the flip side. So they don't have guns. So they walk and then they bump. It's going to be an ongoing beef because of that. Because what's going to happen is, what's your problem, nigga? What's your problem? What's up? What's going on? And if he got his homeboy or he got his homeboys, they're going to throw knuckles. And whoever get the best of who, going to create the beef. Because if he throw knuckles on him and get the best of him, then his boy's going to jump on him. And as a result of all of them banking him, he going to want retaliation. But his retaliation is not going to be in the form of a fist fight. I'm going to get my hammer, and I'm going to deal with them niggas. And he going to be looking for them on and off. Months probably go by. See him at a party. Oh, yeah, that's that nigga right there. That's him. Yeah, that's him. Dude drinking and forgot all about it. Coming out to try and get in his car, he going to come out there and give them to him. Boom, 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 boom. Why? Because it's ill-socialized. Because we don't have conflict resolution skills, communication skills, negotiation skills. They're gone. Because we're not doing that inside the homes. Right? The men in the homes, how we're dealing with our sons. We're beating our sons up. That's what we're doing. Boy, what you did? What, boy? Boom, boom, boom. That's what we're doing. We're not sitting down really talking to them, showing them, instructing our boys how to deal with situations. We're not taking our boys with us to show them how we deal with other men. We're not doing that. We don't got them the rites of passage process. They don't see us engaged in negotiations so they can learn. So they learn from what? They learn from the concrete jungle. So that's why rearing involves this other stuff, the social and emotional. Because if you don't touch on that, I can assure you, you're going to have a child, male or female, that's going to have an extremely hard life. Because the human being is, in fact, a social being. That's what you are. We were meant to be in congregation with one another, and we were meant to be in communion. And when we are ill-socialized and we can't do that, we clash like this right here, our lives become extremely hard. We walk around and say, well, I don't really deal with nobody. I ain't got no friends. Stupid stuff like that, like it's cool. It is stupid. But we think it's cool because everybody's saying, I'm just used to being by myself. Who in the hell used to being by yourself in a world with 6 billion people? You know what I'm saying? But you say you're used to being by yourself. And you don't know that something's wrong with that. You mean to tell me you can't lay there at night and close your eyes and reflect and realize like that? I don't have nobody that I'm close with to know. And don't realize that something's wrong with that? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? And this is how our children grow up. And we're thinking that stuff is okay, but I don't like them women. Men, women, we don't get along well. How can you say that? You a woman. How can you fix your face to say it and you say it with all this audacity and shaking your head like it's cool? But you are a woman. And you saying you can't get along with your species and you think that's okay? And you think it sounds good. You should be mad and upset at yourself. You should be analyzing yourself, trying to figure out why can't I get along? So you got to focus on that stuff. Most of us, in most areas, as children, no one focused on our social emotional. No one focused on that. So that's why most of us, for the most part, we got a deficit in that area. If we honest, and then psycho-spiritual, we don't have a clue. We don't have a clue. So in the most key areas of our development, we walk around with deficits. We can't let our children in them like this, so we have to get it. So you want to understand something about that psychosocial piece, look at Dr. Amos Wilson. Yeah. Pick up Dr. Amos Wilson. You want to understand something about that. Dr. Amos Wilson. He's going to talk about it. He's going to teach you about it. You know, that's what I would suggest. That's what I would, tell us to do. Parenting principles. Real fast. Whatever you do or don't do, teach. Never forget that. Inconsistency weakens and undermines authority. Your child will be as you are. What you do impact your child greater than what you say. That's to be do what you say and say only what you can do. Your child's shortcomings reflect your failure as a parent. You are the authority. You are not your child's peer. You must be the example you desire your child to emulate. You teach your child by how you behave towards your child. You get from your child behaviorally whatever you give your child behaviorally. You cannot instill within your child what you do not possess. Consistency strengthens and reinforces authority. Parenting is not a negotiation. Stop negotiating with these babies. Give them instructions, give them commands, and follow through on it. Don't let them get off. Don't let them get off. If you got to lock that little joke in the house for a whole year to get him to clean his room up, that's what you do. And I mean that. But you got to stand on that. You got to take the whole year from his butt to get him to understand the necessity of cleaning that room. That's what you do. You stand on that. And every day you have a conversation with him about that. You let him know that if you want to change this situation, change this right here. Just conversate. You ain't got to lean. You don't have to be stern. You can be nice. But that's a reorientation process. He needs to understand that what he get out of life is what he gives to life. You got to teach him that. The reason they want to eat snacks all the time because that's what they have been eating all the time. That's what they are conditioned to. Because see, taste can be conditioned. So most of our tastes have been conditioned because we have not known what we should and should not be eating. So most of us, we prefer the artificial over the natural. It's a reorientation process. So I would say, if it's a child that has that issue, I would say start very, very minutely and gradually move them into it. Because if it's a new thing to them, it can just totally work in the adverse. It can have an adverse effect if you just try to drop it all at one time, but just move real slow. Shop around. Find out those natural things that they will eat and start them there. But everything we do with our children, it has to be a conversation linked to it. Everything. So if you're giving them something